Miss Abigail Adams had always been an ordinary teacher. She was a middle school math teacher who had been teaching for 23 years. For her, every day at work was pretty much the same. But one day she found a letter hidden inside one of the desks. The letter changed everything for Miss Adams. It was then that she decided to turn her whole classroom upside down. But how exactly did this all happen? Let's find out. It all started when the bell rang, signaling the start of another day at school. Miss Adams walked into her classroom and saw that all of her students were already seated in their desks. It was just another regular day. But little did Miss Adams know what was about to happen next would change her life forever. As the students began pulling out their books and getting ready for class, Miss Adams noticed that one of the desks was a bit out of place. One of her students had moved it slightly from where it was supposed to be. Miss Adams didn't think much of it. She simply asked the student to push the desk back into its correct position. After the student did so, Miss Adams went over to the desk and sat down. That's when she felt something hard underneath the desk. Thinking it was a book, she pushed it towards her with her foot. As the object came closer, she realized it wasn't a book, but a small wooden box. Confused, Miss Adams got up from her chair and walked over to the box. She had no idea what the box was doing under the desk. She carefully lifted the box and dusted it off. Then she opened it. To her surprise, there was a letter inside. Curiosity got the better of her, and she took the letter out and read, "If you are reading this note, please follow the instructions inside. Your cooperation is highly appreciated." Miss Adams was confused by the letter. She wondered who had put the box and the letter there. As she continued reading, the letter explained that if Miss Adams could solve 3 puzzles that were written in the letter, she would be rewarded with $50,000. Miss Adams was skeptical, but intrigued enough to try. The first puzzle was to go to the school library and find a book whose title had the same number of letters as the number of books in the library. This seemed like an impossible task, but Miss Adams was determined to solve the puzzle. She went to the library and counted the number of books, which turned out to be 539. She then began looking for a book with the same number of letters in its title. Meanwhile, one of her students named Sam was passing by the library and saw Miss Adams counting the number of books. Curious, he asked her what she was doing, and she explained the puzzle to him. Sam suggested they look for a book together, and soon they found a book titled The Scarlet Pimpernel, which had 17 letters in the title, the same as the number of books in the library. Miss Adams was excited. She thanked Sam for his help and gave him an A+ in class. The second puzzle was to find the principal's office by walking 10 steps east, then 8 steps north, then 6 steps west, and finally 4 steps south. Miss Adams thought this puzzle was easy. She thanked the person who wrote the letter for making such a simple puzzle. When she arrived at the principal's office, she knocked on the door. The principal, Mr. Clayton, was surprised to see Miss Adams and asked her what she was doing. She explained about the letter and asked if he could give her $50,000, to which he laughed and said he couldn't. He advised her to forget about the letter and go back to class. Miss Adams was disappointed, but she still had one more puzzle to solve. The last puzzle was to find the sum of the ages of all the teachers in the school. Miss Adams thought hard, trying to figure out a way to solve the puzzle. She knew the ages of all the teachers, but calculating the sum would take too much time. Just then, Sam approached her and asked if she needed any help. She explained her problem to him, and he offered to help. Together, they calculated the sum of the teachers' ages. Miss Adams was excited. She had solved all 3 puzzles. Feeling confident, she went to the person who had given her the letter and told them she had solved all the puzzles and deserved the $50,000. But the person simply laughed and said, "You don't get the money, you only do." And with that, they left. Miss Adams was shocked. She had worked so hard to solve the puzzles, and for what? But then she realized that the person who had given her the letter had only said she would get the money if she solved the puzzles. They never said anything about giving her the money. Miss Adams felt humiliated, but she knew she had to do something. She wasn't going to let this person get away with this. She went back to the principal's office and explained everything to Mr. Clayton. He was surprised and apologized for not believing her. He then asked her why she had come to him. Miss Adams explained that she wanted to do something big with the school. She wanted to renovate the library and build a new computer lab. Mr. Clayton was impressed by her dedication and enthusiasm and promised to support her. With Mr. Clayton's help, Miss Adams set about renovating the library. She bought new books and created a cozy reading area. She also built a new computer lab with the latest computers and software. The students were thrilled with the changes and thanked Miss Adams for everything she had done. One day, while Miss Adams was working in her new library, she heard a knock at the door. She went to open it and was surprised to see the person who had given her the letter standing at the door. They looked sheepish and apologized for tricking her. They explained that they had meant to give her the money, but they were waiting to see if she would keep her word and renovate the library. They were impressed by what she had done and asked if she would accept the $50,000. Miss Adams was taken aback. She had never thought about accepting the money. She had only wanted to improve the school. But now that the renovations were complete, she had nothing else to do with the money. So she accepted the check. Miss Adams and the person who had given her the letter became friends. They often talked about how Miss Adams had changed the school and the lives of the students. In fact, it was the biggest news in town. Everyone praised Miss Adams for her hard work and dedication. In addition to all the local news stations that were interviewing her, a famous TV show called Surprise Big Surprise wanted to feature her story. Miss Adams was hesitant at first, but her colleagues encouraged her to go for it. When the show's host, Mr. Rogers, approached her, she agreed to be featured on the show. On the day of the show, Miss Adams was surprised by the number of people who had come to watch. The whole school had gathered in the auditorium to watch. When Miss Adams was presented with a check for $100,000, she was shocked. She had never imagined that she would be featured on such a big show and receive such a huge amount of money. She thanked the show's producers for the opportunity. In the following months, Miss Adams used the money to further improve the school. She set up an after-school program for students who needed extra help in their studies. She also organized field trips for the students to museums and other educational places. The students were grateful for Miss Adams' dedication and hard work. They knew that she had made a huge difference in their lives. One day, the school board announced that Miss Adams had won the Teacher of the Year award. The award was given to her for her outstanding contributions to the school and the community. Miss Adams was honored and humbled by the recognition. She knew that she had a great job and loved her students. The story of Miss Adams became an inspiration for many other teachers. Her dedication and hard work made her an outstanding teacher who was respected and admired by everyone. In the end, it was all worth it for Miss Adams. She had made a positive impact on the lives of her students and the school community. Now, before you go, tell us in the comments what would you have done with the $50,000. We can't wait to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button below the video to get more stories like this.